This is gonna be an
Adventure
adventure
all
on
the
its own.
time.
All the people are gonna
Come,
clap, 'cause it's time
time
for
for
PeaCreaLive
PeaCree Live.
with David and Arny.
Doo-doo-doo. Hey, everybody! that was our. That was our. Uh, that was our makeshift intro,
DIY.
DIY intro, because we didn't get the intro graphics sorted out today. But um, but hey, how you doing, everyone? Thanks for joining us. If you're joining us, and we're very happy to be here again after a few days hiatus of PeaCree Live, but now we're back. So, Arnaud, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've done a lot of my favorite activities today, spending time with my kids and coaching people. So that's really nothing to complain about. The weather is beautiful. I dug a hole in the ground. So all only good stuff. Only good
What do you
stuff.
mean? Why'd you dig a hole? You bury somebody?
No, 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 no. I was asked to dig a hole so that we can plant a plant. And I like to do these kind of activities from time to time, just take a shovel and dig holes. That's pretty fun.
All right, cool, man. Cool. Well,
So David, what's this show actually? What's this show that people just tuned in?
the show called PeaCree Live. It stands for Peaceful Creativity. That this is our passion project right now. It's something we're trying to bring to the world in order to help people feel good and help people feel like they have the tools and resources to navigate this time. Arno and I are both coaches. You can see our websites at the bottom, and we come on the show to just talk about topics and share coaching tools and resources. So that's what we're after. That's what we're up to. So
Hell yeah.
today's topic, Arno and I were talking before the show. We're just noticing how many people are controlled by fear. I mean, when it's not like we're exceptions, you know. There's a lot. There's a lot of ways that I mean, this is just the natural, actual, course of being a biological human and having an ego and having emotional wounds. Is those wounds end up becoming the subconscious factors that send up all of our fear-based thoughts, and then most of us just choose to listen to them. We just listen to them. So that's one of our challenges today, and we want to talk about that. So, Arnaud, do you want to kick off the discussion? What are you noticing about these fear responses happening in people right now? Oh, by the way, while Arnaud's
Yeah.
thinking about that, I just want to say thanks to anybody watching and who will tune in and give us a comment.
Yes.
We're here ready to receive your comments and questions. We want this to be a conversation. So if you have anything interesting to ask us about, or just anything to ask us about fear, anything to ask us about how to deal with fear, how fear is showing up for you, we would love to hear from you. Right now we have 3 people watching, so very happy to see that, and send us a comment or question and we'll get right to it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Arno,
So
kick us
at the
off, man.
moment, I'm living with my family-in-law in the countryside of Czech Republic, and I actually brought this theme to the show today, this theme of fear, because I had this very sad actually insight 2 days ago of how much of all our decisions are based on fear. My wife is constantly afraid of what could happen to our kids, and I'm afraid of that as well. But I, bec it's clearer for me to see it in other person, I guess. And so she's constantly saying, "Don't do this, don't do that," because she's afraid of what could physically happen to them, which is a completely normal way of behaving, like we care about our children, obviously. But then there are some other categories of fears which are more related traditions and habits, and no, you don't do this around the table. If you do this, this person will feel hurt and things like that. And I was looking at that and I realized that there is this primal fear of belonging, or not belonging. And that we're teaching that to our children was very strong of an insight for me. And then I was like, but wait a second, I'm actually changing several of my behaviors because I'm afraid of how the people around me will react. And from this point, then I started looking at my family-in-law, my mother and father-in-law, and I was like, wow, but their reactions as well are filled with fears. My mother-in-law is always afraid that what she cooked won't please her husband, and her husband is always very careful in the words he chooses because he's afraid that what he says is going to piss off, my mom-in-law. And I'm like, wow, but there is fear everywhere. We are here in the spiritual circles. We often talk about love is everything, love is everywhere. But all of this, of a sudden, I was like, but shit, dude, like fear is everywhere as well, and it kind of overwhelmed me. And I saw that I wanted to bring that to the show so that we can talk about it together, David. And so to hear as well from our viewers if they have similar experiences in their lives, in their family, in their couple, in their social interactions, in their own life. And so that's the story behind the theme of today.
Yeah. So you're noticing that many of the little, small, normal, routine behaviors that you're seeing happen around you seem to be motivated by a fear of what someone else is going to think, how someone else is going to react, how the other person is feeling or not. So you're kind of just seeing this as it's like seems to be almost embedded in the habitual behaviors of people. And
Yes.
yeah, and this is I think this is so what's your reaction to that? I mean, how does that feel?
It's well, first of all, I'm happy to realize that because maybe some of you guys who are watching remember that, but David and I we launched an online course last Christmas called Peaceful Holidays, and one of the things we addressed in this course was how when you go back home around the holidays, there are those unsaid things and these weird tensions in the family that prevents you from actually relax and chill and connect with them. And at the time, I couldn't really put words on that, and I didn't know why I felt tense or uncomfortable sometimes in some family context. And I think it's because of this fear. And so I'm happy that I've at least words to put on what I'm feeling now. And I hope that because I realized that I will be able to more consciously go out of these cycles of fears and maybe replace it with some more positivity or with some more openness and try to advocate for, fun instead of fears. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking about at the moment.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So you think seeing it so in seeing it, I guess specifically you can't control other people, right? But you can control yourself. Or I mean control yourself. I mean you can just manage yourself. In seeing it, uh what are the spots you think, oh, I could maybe manage myself differently? These are the ways I'm still operating that are from fear. Which ones are you noticing in
Yeah.
yourself? I mean, I agree with you. Sometimes it's easier to see these in other people, because these are by nature a blind spot. We don't we don't realize until we do this kind of work that our ego, which is our psychological construct made up of our emotional wounds, is just to our ego escaping or the things that it's afraid of. It thinks that's just normal how life works, you know? So it has these rules inside to stop us from being who certain ways, stop us from saying and doing certain things, you know, in order to try to not come up against those things it perceives as dangers, you know. And these dangers are just to the ego, it's just like, oh yeah, that's true, that's normal, like this danger is exists. If I say this certain thing, that person's going to reject me, and that's going to be bad. That's going to, like, you know, lower my ability, weaken my ability to be connected and get love and survive and all these things, you know. So to our ego,
Yeah.
it's just normal. So until we see this thinking and challenge this thinking, you know, these thoughts come up in our head, and it's just normal. Like the thought, you know, these thoughts you're observing, like, I can't say certain things, otherwise this my partner, this woman, is going to get really pissed off, and I, you know, I can't
Mm.
enter into that territory. Of course, looking from the outside, that seems ridiculous. Like, you know, why can't you? You can learn how to talk about things in a different way. Also, like, what if she gets pissed off? Why is that such a terrible thing? You know, like,
Yeah, exactly.
maybe, well, like, are you sure you want to be holding back your authentic expression? Maybe you can learn how to express yourself differently in a way that gets your point across, but that isn't, you know, that doesn't, you know, trigger the other person. Like, of course, from the outside, it's, you see all these options, but on the inside, you know, to a person, on the inside of a person's mind, the ego walls are just, they just seem like normal boundaries of the world and what's
Yeah.
possible. And so the person is saying, oh no, I cannot go in that direction. I cannot say these things. I have to be afraid of what I say. So this is this is so I guess, you know,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that whole tangent was about being blind to our own. These are a blind spot inside of us, you know. And so I'm wondering if you are seeing any ways, you specifically seem like you mentioned you did see specific ways that you've been acting out of fear from other people's reactions, and you're saying maybe you can manage that differently. So I wanted to hear maybe an example of that,
Yeah.
and then after that we'll go to a comment.
So, oh, we have a comment?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Uh, so what for me, it's always a tricky line to navigate because I feel like sometimes my inner teenager is triggered, and my inner teenager is kind of like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here, you know, and I kind of block myself and leave the room or just stop communicating. And in a way, I could see that as, oh, I just realized that this person is acting out of fear, so I'm just protecting myself by leaving that. But on the other hand, that's not very productive for anyone because it's not communication. So it's always a little bit difficult for me to know if I'm just, you know, like fight or flight, if I'm just flying away from the situation, or if I'm protecting myself. So what I'm trying to do is, first of all, for me, the big priority is always the children. So I'm trying to limit to the maximum, or when I hear myself putting a no, don't do that, I try to very quickly think about if it was based on a real danger. No, don't play with this knife because you could cut yourself. Or if it's based on another fear that's more irrational, or that's less dangerous, like, oh no, don't do it, because if you do it, your mom is going to get pissed. And sometime I realize that I absorb fears of other people, and I'm super afraid that if my kid do this one thing, oh, then my wife will feel that and my mother-in-law will feel that, so that would be bad, right? But that's, in a way, that's their shit, you know, that's their fear. It shouldn't prevent my kids to do something who isn't harmful to anyone, and I shouldn't enforce something on my kids that isn't related to my need. You know, if he's not doing anything dangerous for himself and for others, and if I don't care, then I shouldn't feel forced to tell him not to do it just to please the people around me, to please their wounded ego, you know. So I'm trying to be very mindful of that, on what I forbid to my kids and when I tell them not to do something. And I've already had some successes with that, you know. Um,
What's an
And now
example? What's an
I'm
example specifically of one thing that you were telling them like don't do that before, but then you realized, wait, this is my own ego's idea. It's not actually. I don't need to impose it on them.
mine's first is singing while at the table. And this is I'm not over it because I like when my kids sing, it's joyful, but it's just that when the two of them sing at the same time, it makes some noise, so it's more difficult to complicate it. And my wife don't like it that much, so she tends to say no, not at the table, and I tend to tag along with it. But now I'm starting to realize slowly that no, actually, they finish their food, they sing some nice stuff, so why not let them sing? That would be an example.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's because obviously from an outsider, it doesn't seem any harm is being done with the singing. But for whatever reason, it makes people uncomfortable. You know, and your wife, you're right now in the house of your, during this quarantine time, this lockdown time, you're in the house of your wife's parents, right? So,
Yes,
I mean, your wife is having to deal with all of her unresolved, internal stuff around her parents. So like
yes,
her kids singing at the table could, to her subconscious, be a signal of whether like she's a good mom or not. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So this is interesting to be like, oh, to think that you're picking that up. We do pick up like the fears of the other people around us. I mean, we couch it in this. It's like such a thin line between accommodating someone else out of love and suppressing yourself out of fear for the other person's reaction.
yeah.
You know,
Mm.
so it's really cool that you're into that examination, that you're studying that for yourself. I mean, that's what we need to do all the time, is this examining our own motivations. I'm one of the things that I do at home sometimes is all the time with the dishes. Like I mention the dishes like every episode, but they seem to be a constant source of me learning about my own ego in this. But so when my girlfriend washes the dishes, like sometimes I'll just like find myself watching. I'm like, why the fuck am I watching? And then I get agitated. I'm really, why am I getting agitated? It's because for some reason I have this like, I don't, it's a fear, I guess, of soap being still on the dishes and me eating soap. I don't know why I don't want to eat soap so much. I don't know why I think the soap is so dangerous, but like, it could be some little thing I heard my grandmother said when I'm a kid. Like if you say something bad, if you do something bad, we're gonna wash your mouth out with soap. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
I could
yeah.
associate it with being a bad person. I mean, these are the kind of things our ego lines up. I could have some fear. Maybe I ate something as a kid that made me feel really sick, and now I have like some internal fear of like being poisoned or something like this. Or
Mm.
maybe I
Mm.
accidentally
Mm.
swallowed soap when I was a tiny kid, and now my subconscious is like, fuck that, we're never touching soap again. And now I'm watching the dishes, and my ego is telling me you have to say something. You have to say something about those dishes,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes I do, and then I'm immediately like, oh my god, that's just why? And then of course it triggers her ego, and she's like, what are you talking about? I'm doing these dishes just fine. Shut up, And so these triggers, they always, one way. Well, they always end up creating more triggers when we act out on them and express them,
Yeah.
But these are very small examples, right? But this same process is at play in every single major decision we make in our lives as well. And right now, we're in a time of potentially making major decisions about where we want to go next as a society, starting with an individual level. Where am I going to go next with my work? Where am I going to go next with my relationships? How do I want to live coming out of this time? Has this time
Mm.
shown me some things I don't want to participate in anymore in society, or some ways things I want to bring, new things I want to bring in for myself in society. So, these walls our ego builds. The ego builds the walls to keep the danger out, but all it ends up doing is keeping us in a room of our own confinement of what we can be and say and what we can do and what's allowed and what's possible. So, this is great to be examining this. Now let's go to the comment, shall we?
Yes.
The comment is from Yendo Algrano. She has a nice picture here. I don't know if that's someone you know. Let's find out. I'm going to put her on the live stream. But Yendo Algrano says, isn't fear the expression of a deeper emotion or need? Like fear of not belonging, or fear of missing out, or fear of not pleasing, or fear of not being loved. So
Wow.
that's a very interesting
Yeah,
and good question. Let's address that question. So I'm gonna move that question down
I
so it's
think
off of our faces. But this is the question we're talking about right now. The comment. Yeah.
yeah. So first of all, thank you for your question. Um, I think it's a curse, man. It's like something that comes from generations, from from as David was talking about it earlier. Like back in the day, if you didn't belong, you die. You get ejected from the tribe, and you're in the desert, and fucking tiger teeth, no saber teeth tiger eats you, and you're dead. So we have these fears which are connected to trivial things like singing at around the table, or soap on your dishes, or whatever seems that looks surface level. Now it's connected to, yes, as you were saying, fear of not belonging, fear of not being accepted, fear of not being loved. And this is a curse, and that's why I'm so lucky to live in those days, because now I see an awakening. I see more people interested in meditation and in examining the ego. Eckhart Tolle is super popular. Sam Harris is super popular. There's a lot of people talking about a different way to look at ourselves and our lives and our relationship with others. Hell, that's something that comes all the time with my coaching clients, the relationship thing. And we are lucky that we can examine that, because as David was saying, if we don't examine it, we cannot notice it. And my hope is that, step by step, more and more people are going to examine that and make a difference between, oh, this is not me. This is just this fear that goes through me, and I can just watch it go away and then act from a place of love, from a place of openness, from a place of positivity. So yes, definitely the fear is an expression of some deeper fear linked to our evolutionary rules of survival. And but hopefully, my hope, yeah, no, actually, I already said this sentence. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. But yes, we're on the right path, and this virus is a great way to do that, to examine our lives. And as David was saying, to know, how do we want to continue after that? What do we want to let our fear ride us, like control us, or do we want to come from another place?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say thank you, Yendo, for this question. Oh, by the way, she has another comment. She says, "Hi guys, nice to see your faces. Nice shirt, Arno." That was the
Oh,
first part
thank
of her
you.
comment. So
Thanks.
uh, I would not say fear is the expression of a deep emotional need. I would say it like this: fear, but it's connected to deeper emotional needs. And I try to explain succinctly my view on it. But fear is our biological organism's nervous system reaction to attempt to motivate the organism to survive. So and this comes from genes. Of course, we have some genes that that some things in our genetics that we're scared of. But the brilliant thing about our genetics is that there are very few ingrained fears. I was on a workshop about dealing with fear the other day, and the leader of the workshop said that according to the research on babies, there are only two inborn fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And every other fear is learned. So
Wow.
So that I don't, I don't know if that's true. I don't have a way to substantiate that, but this person is someone I trust and I believe is credible, someone I've been following for a while, and they said that this is what the research shows us. Now, what that means is that our nervous system our biology has to come up with a mechanism for surviving in this world and understanding the challenges of the world. So the way it does that is the first 7 to 8 years of our life, we're in this like hypnotic state where we are recording everything that's happening and trying to understand, is this a danger or is it not a danger? And our nervous system records every single physical and emotional pain that we experience, and those are the things it decides we need to avoid and be afraid of. That's how it figures out what's an actual danger in our society. So it, you know, the, our biology is set up to learn the fears, from example, from our parents. So we're a 5-year-old, we're running around doing something, and our parent yells at us when we do something. Now parent angry, like this is parent not loving me in this moment. This is dangerous. I'm getting rejected. I'm losing love in this moment. I should never do this thing I was doing again. And that's how our biology learns that of what to be afraid of. So it can be everything from physical things to emotional things. And we build up this whole set of rules and beliefs inside of us that altogether, that's what our ego is. And these, so these fear, this is our biology's way of helping us survive. And of course, because we evolved to be social species, like Arnaud was talking about, one of the key things our biology is interested in is keeping us connected with the other people around us, keeping us to be an accepted part of the tribe. So very often the things we're most afraid of are the things we have associated with being rejected, being not loved, but those look different for every person. And those look different in every culture. If you like someone who's afraid of public speaking is a very, very common fear, but why are some people absolutely love it and have not had that fear? These fears are not ingrained. They're because when we were kids, maybe we were loud at a restaurant, maybe we were singing at the table, and then our parents shut us down. And we learned we can never be the center of attention. We learned we can never be have our voice in public, because we had that moment of rejection, and that rejection to our biology is a terrifying thing that we absolutely need to avoid. So it creates this fear, this rule: avoid this. This is fear. So, I mean, these needs. Well, first of all, I'll stop there. Do you agree with that, Arnaud?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, with what you said, and it's made me think about a call I had with a school director 2 days ago in order to know if our kid would be a match with his school, because they're doing a Montessori school and they want to choose kids who go there. And he asked us why we're interested in the school, and my answer in short was, yeah, I don't want extra fears to crush his creativity, his joy. I want to avoid as much as possible the kind of things that you are talking about, those small T traumas when, you're doing something, you're expressing yourself, you're being joyful, and somebody tells you, shh, no, not here, something like that. And then you record that as, okay, this is not okay to express myself. And for now, we are very fortunate to have 2 kids who will love to express themselves and sing and do stupid things and, not stupid, childish things actually. And that's wonderful. And I wanted to maintain it as much as possible, And that's why I was talking about the curse, because I think that most parents, like the big majority of parents, love their kids. But even though we have those, sometimes you don't have the time to control yourself, and you're already passing on the fear that you got from your parents to your kids. Like, shh, no, don't sing at the table. And that's yeah. But that's why I'm so happy that a lot of people realize that and try to correct courses, because I think the curse is dying slowly. This is good. There is this awakening.
I think so too. I think we're becoming, less and less fearful. And And a situation like this with the coronavirus, I mean, look how many people are so triggered in fear, are so terrified. What's going to happen? Not only with the virus but with economies. I mean, this is a huge collective moment where we get to see the fear our ego is holding inside, because the coronavirus isn't what made you scared, and the evidence of that is that some people are not scared. Some people are not worried about the economy. They just feel like it's going to be new and different economy, but it's not necessarily going to be worse. So I mean, there are lots of. So why are you holding the perspective you're holding in this situation? It's because of your default reaction is because of what your ego believes about you and believes about the world, and what believes about how it believes you can be okay. In my own ego integration work the other day, I found this part of me that was really trying to control, and it was related to, those conversations I have around the dishes. And it was related to like, it started to feel really, I found this part of myself that felt really crappy, that I couldn't control better my work, control better, the amount of clients I have, control better, what my collaborators thought of me. I could see it was constantly trying to control, how people saw me as valuable or not. Constantly trying to control the amount of money I have, like control all these factors that have so many variables, And I was asking myself, why do I was going deeper and deeper through these feelings, and I was releasing them and integrating them, bringing them through me. And underneath the part of me that wanted to control, the question came, why do I need to control so much? Like, and then this other thing came up that was like, because I'm terrified of being wrong. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want people to think I'm wrong. I don't want people to, think my work is wrong or what I say is wrong, and then because being wrong means I'll just be cast aside. I just won't be listened to, being wrong means like I'll be totally rejected, totally unvaluable, totally worthless, wrong about everything, So my ego is holding on to this idea. And as I'm going, I'm like diving through that and letting that go through me. And that's like, even deeper, more difficult feelings. And, I get to this beautiful insight on the other side that, I don't know is important, but right now, but that's one of the gifts of ego integration. When you let yourself actually go through what your ego is holding, you have beautiful insights on the other side that just show you life in a new way. But anyway, the reason I'm saying this is because I'm like, where did that ego belief come that I am wrong? And I just thought about all the times when I was a kid, at school, at home, from other peers, from just people telling you you're wrong. This answer is not right. What you're saying it doesn't fit. Oh no, the way you're looking at this situation, no, that's wrong. Like just all the times telling a little kid that the way they're seeing the world is just, nope, it's wrong. It's incorrect. You are wrong. And the ego internalizes that. Like, it's me. I'm wrong. I'm at fault here. It's not like just that I don't have the information I need, or it's not just that like this is a normal child's perspective, or it's not just that like whether I get this homework right or not doesn't matter at all for my fucking life or anybody's life. It doesn't that, whether I get what I answer on this test doesn't mean anything for anyone. Shut up and stop giving me marks on my test, like that. The ego doesn't make those, our childhood self doesn't make those, doesn't do that. It just internalizes it. We are wrong. And now I'm sitting here in my 40th year on this planet thinking to myself, like finding a part of myself that's trying to control because it doesn't want to be wrong. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so freeing to go through that and come out on the other side of that, but it's just like, even I've been doing this work for years, and still there are these these subconscious rules that are embedded in there, and maybe we come at them from one angle and we integrate, but there's another angle. We come at from another angle and integrate, come at from another angle and integrate. I mean, I've definitely encountered this spot in myself before, but this one, I feel like I finally broke through, and
Wow.
it was just that fear of being wrong was so much of the reason I controlled things.
That's wonderful, this insight that you got on the other side, like doing the work. because I know how difficult it is to actually sit through it, and because triggers are very can bring some very unpleasant physical sensation, and but the way out is through, and you actually sit down to it and release it and integrate it, and you got a great insight. And it brought me an interesting question, maybe thought-provoking or whatever, that I would call the good side of fears. Because you've been doing this work for years, right? And you still have those fears, and so am I, so do I. And for generations, people, I mean, look at all the stuff that humans did, like in technology, in discovery, travels, how much of that was motivated by fear, fear of not belonging. If I don't fucking discover the new continents, then the queen will kill me, or the king will kill me, or whatever. Or if I don't manage to create this whatever invention, the electricity, my wife wants to cook dinner for me, or my wife will divorce me, or something like that. The amount of things that were done and that are still being done.
You see the
Facebook?
The
Why
Facebook movie? Zuckerberg basically created Facebook because he was like getting back at a girl. It was like he was totally,
Really?
it was totally
Oh
an
yeah,
ego
yeah,
trigger.
I remember.
It's totally an ego trigger.
Yeah,
For some reason, he created Facebook.
Yeah. So, and when I was thinking about that, about the good side of fear, I remember that when you were invited in my podcast, like several months ago, I asked you what is life, and I think you said something like it's a game that our higher self comes to play in human form, and this is. It just clicked in my mind right now. This is amazing that there is this fear, which is at the same time the enemy. We're trying to get control of it and to integrate it, but at the same time, it brought a lot of positive things, and it all seems so perfectly made and funny, and that there's this balance. It's just beautiful, man. And I don't know.
You're having an existential insight. You're having a higher self insight, but right now. I was seeing it live. We're witnessing live Arnaud getting information from his higher self right now.
But it's just beautiful to see.
I
don't know if it's true, by the way, right? But it's just this idea that came to me, and
you're absolutely right. I'm going to change the title. Well, no, I'm not going to change the title. It's not the enemy. It's not the enemy. The problem is not the fear. It's not the fear. The fear is just it's like a biological reflex. The fear is just our biology, how it knows how to survive, the motivating mechanism it uses to try to get us to survive. It's a reflex, like our knee kicking out, when the doctor hits it with that little rubber triangular hammer thing, whatever the fuck that is. So, the problem is not the fear. The problem is that we believe the fear. We believe the fearful thoughts. The problem is that well, look, it's not a problem.
We identify with it.
It's not a problem. Everything's perfect. It's not a problem. But the point is, I realized I can't make a case that it's a problem. But I realized that if we do want a more loving life, if we want a more joyful life and a more loving society, if we want to create the new society we know is possible, then that's the reason to look at these things. Not because they're a problem, but because look at what our society is right now. That is largely, as Arnaud, you're saying, has been a creation of acting on our fear, And so if we want something new, we have to find some new motivations to act on, which means seeing the fear stuff come and this managing it and integrating it, and acting on something else. But I agree with you that our soul is using it. This is part of the game. Our soul is coming here. And look, like our soul is perfect and in love and in just completely complete. Like if it were just to come on Earth without these kind of biological elements, it would just be this like perfectly loving, like, light source. And there have been some souls who come here and do that. But for the rest of us, like we need a mechanism We need a mechanism to basically give us a human perspective, you know, and then in this human perspective, our soul can play and decide how it's going to react and decide, can it bring more love into this situation? Can it bring more love into this situation? Can I remember that I'm a soul, even though I'm so scared in this situation? You know, can I find a way to be bigger than that? You know, not to eradicate the fear. We're never going to be fearless. You know, as long as we're in human biological, you know, as long as we're in the biological form, we're going to have fear because that's part of the biological form. But also at the same time, there's a whole another side of us that's much bigger than the fear. That's the fear is just a part of, just a little part of, but, you know. And so can the integration work, the ego integration work, gets us through the fear to access that bigger part. And there's nothing wrong with the fear. It's just part of the game. It's a piece in the game. It's part of our characters. It's one of our character. You know, we have like stats. Our human character has stats, like in a role playing game. You know, and it's like we got like magic 50. You know, fear 45. You know what I mean? And we got to navigate the world with those stats.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, man. And this is such a nice segue, especially what you said at the beginning about like this new society which is coming out of this situation. Because guys, we have two. I mean, we said that we would have one big announcement for today, but actually we have two. So surprise! I guess your mind is. I hope your mind is blown away. So, David, why don't you tell us about the first one, which concerned this new society that you are talking about and this new way at looking at the world, and also how your YouTube channel might change name.
Yeah, well, it's I'm just, you know, I just been realizing so clearly during this time that I want to be the most active participant I can be in creating the new society, a more loving society, a society where, yes, we have fear, but we're acting on something else. You know, a society where we remember that we're not all separate, that we're one and we're together. You know, it's ending the cult of separation that we have, and actually realizing that there's a new way to be. So the way the reason someone just whooped on the comments, whoop whoop from Anastasia on the YouTube comments. So thank you for that. I don't know what exactly.
Whoop whoop to you, Anastasia.
Maybe you're whooping. You know, I'll just put you on the screen for a second. Maybe you were whooping what I just said, or maybe you're whooping Arnaud's beautiful shirt. Whatever you're whooping, thank you. So I want to be the most active participant I can be in this new society, and the way I'm going to do this, I started a new project called the Relovution, and it's just about learning how to put love into all of our actions and behaviors and live from that place. See what our life becomes. See what our businesses become. See what our relationships become. See what our society can become. And there's a lot of other people working on something similar. But this is this is one big push for me and how I can participate in that. And so if you want to check that out, you can see the website below here on the live stream. It's relovution.co, and it's .co because everything we're going to do there is in collaboration, in community, so if you go there, you can actually get a guide, a checklist I wrote, a small guide to ego integration, and this is the starting step to creating the new loving world. The first place we need to re-love is ourselves. We need to actually learn to love our egos. That's how we go through this stuff. You know, when we learn to love our fear and we become the loving, peaceful space that meets our fear gets transformed when we go right through it, and only we remain. As that beautiful quote from the fear prayer from Dune. I should memorize that and bring that in sometime. But anyway, you can go there and you can get the ego integration checklist. And I hope
And do they also get the the notification of the new episode of the PeaCreaLive when they get that, or it's something different?
Yeah, no, well, yeah, they'll get that there. They'll get that there for sure. New episodes of the
Okay.
show, and you can also go to peacefulcreativity.com/live and get those updates as well. But we want to make it really easy for people to stay in touch, and we haven't decided if we want to do YouTube, if we want to stick with YouTube or go back to Facebook Live. So let us know in the comments or by signing up and emailing us. What platform you would most want to see us on, and what's most convenient for you, so we can make sure we're catering to our members, our viewers. And so in addition to this, try to kick off the Relovution, this complete redoing of all society. By the way, I mean, this is the reason I work for myself. I mean, I had, I told the story in one of the podcasts, but the short version is I had a major moment in my life where I saw everything I had done, everything I had achieved, everything I had worked for, my choices of where I lived and where I worked. It was all based on fear, and fear of wanting to be accepted and seen as success and what other people would think and everything. And when I decided to stop that and try to make choices based on something else, my heart, love, my higher self, my whole life began to change. And I'm here now, 7, 8 years later, since making that decision. And, my every single thing in my life is completely different. And I've been working for myself that whole time, thanks to following my heart. So, there's no small stakes to this process. This process can be a life-changing process, and that's what the Relovution is all about. So if you like it, come check it out and tell us where you want us to do this show. There's another announcement that we have. The other big
Can I do
mind-blowing
this one?
announcement, yeah, that's coming for the show. And
Yeah.
tell them what we've got planned.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was pretty fun because we had a call with David, I think 2 days ago, and we were because we had another show for some time, and we're going to be live every day next week, guys, except Monday. So from Tuesday through Friday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're gonna be live, guys, with you every day at 6 p.m. Prague time. Ta-da!
Boom. You clearly have not had enough of us. You clearly are just wondering, how can we be in your life more? And now we have the answer for you. Every day except Monday. Every weekday except Monday. You can
Except Monday.
Join us. You can bring us into your kitchen while you're cooking dinner at 6 p.m. or lunch at noon if you're in the U.S. And we can, in Eastern time in the U.S. And you can, that's breakfast for you if you're on the West Coast of the U.S. And oh yeah, Yendo Algrano says yay. She also gave a comment that her real name was Marie, so maybe you know that person. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she says yay, and we say yay too, because we're really excited to bring in more guests, having more kind of just quick conversations. Arno and I are working on ourselves every day, and we're coaching people every day. So every day we are having insights into what is, what's coming up for people, what's going on, and what's helping us and others. So we want to just share that more. And if you want to, we want to find an easy time, and you can just, cook yourself a nice meal while you listen to us chat. Send us a comment, in between, when your fingers aren't sticky with your food. So, and we're going to want to have a conversation with you about how to create the new society we know is possible, how to create the Relovution, or how to do peaceful creativity, how to create the next version of ourselves from peace. That's what we're all about here. So hopefully you'll like that, and we'll send you. So go to the Relovution or go to peacefulcreativity.com to get on the, to make sure you're notified of when our shows are going to be. And of course you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is right now, it is called DP Live. That's my initials in live, but it's going to be changed to the Relovution. So hopefully that'll be easy for you to find as well. And
on that note, David, I'm very happy personally that PeaCreaLive is part of the Relovution. even though relocation is new, I mean, it's not a new concept, right? You've been having it in your heart in a way or another for 8 years or maybe more, But this is a new name to it, let's say, and I'm really happy that PeaCreaLive is associated with that, and I'm really happy that the PeaCreaLive videos will be hosted under the Relovution YouTube channel. And another thing I wanted to say is that even though maybe part of this live stream was born out of fear, mostly it was out of love and out of fun and hey, let's do this, it's fun. But I remember that at the beginning of this pandemic, I had fear in me and I was like, oh, wow. Oh, I don't know if I will have enough clients. I need to put content out there. Oh, we need to show that we're active and that we're still out there. So there was this, if I'm being completely honest, there was this element. But then, of course, there was the fun. There is the fun, the love, and the joy of doing this show. And that's actually the reason why we decided. One of the reasons why we decided to go live next week every day except Monday, because this is such a pleasant moment. This week when we didn't have 2 shows but just one, I missed it. I was like, wow, fuck, I want more PeaCreaLive. And we started to talk about David, and I don't think that neither of us had in his mind that I'm going to try and push so we have every day, except on every day that we'll have the show. But then boom, it happened, and it was born not out of fear, but out of joy to be together, to exchange on interesting topic, to help you guys and to hear from you guys your questions. So next Tuesday, you go to Relovution YouTube channel and you ask a question, then you cut your onions, and when you come back, boom, we are answering to your question. That's as easy as that.
That's beautiful, Arno. Beautiful. Yeah, that's a great final point. That example. We don't have to avoid the feelings of fear. Our ego is trying to escape our fear, but actually our fear is a message. Our fear is a message of where we're wounded. And maybe our fear is also a message, kind of like Yendo Algrano was alluding to as well. Our fear is a message of, because on the other side of it, on the other side of our fear is something we really want. Joseph Campbell, the, famous for coming up with the idea of the hero's journey. He says that the treasure you most desire is in the cave you most fear. All these mythological stories are of someone going into and through their fear and finding treasure on the other side. Well, ego integration and the coaching work that we do, that it's not about eliminating the fear. It's about feeling the fear and finding another part of yourself, feeling the fear and acting anyway. Feel the fear and do it and do something from your heart anyway. So this has been a great conversation, and I can't wait to have more of these every weekday except Monday with you, Arnaud, starting next week.
Except Monday.
This YouTube channel.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it as well. And because I know that we don't have an outro music, I'm trying to find it quickly on my phone so that I can play it here, but I'm not sure I will manage. So if you can say a few inspiring words while I look for it, and if I don't find it, then never mind.
Yeah, well, I think, there's that. I'll try to recite part of that Dune poem from the movie Dune, from the book Dune.
Oh, that's
beautiful sci-fi book, but it goes something like, I see my fear, but I will not let it control me. Fear is the mind killer. I will watch my fear and let it pass through me, and I will turn around and my fear will be gone and only I will remain. I'll get the full poem for next show, but that's in a sci-fi book, and that's the hero of that book goes through some of his biggest fears and comes out the other side. That's
with a giant sandworm, if I remember correctly.
Fucking sandworm.
I found the music. I don't know if it will work.
Well, play the outro or no. Play the outro music.
Okay.
Put it up to that microphone and play that music. Sounds terrible, but it's good enough.
Doesn't sound good?
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's good. PeaCreaLive.
with David and Arny.
Beautiful,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time. Have a great weekend.